With a move on the horizon, there's something comforting about hiring a rental truck. There's a lot of uncertainty, but you pretty much already know what companies to consider and the process of hiring one of these things. But just like with anything, there's a time and a place for a truck rental. I'm Sergio from MoveBuddha. Real quick, if you don't know what MoveBuddha is, we're a moving resource. All we do is talk about moving. We help 400,000 people move a year, and we've been doing this for almost a decade. That being said, I'm gonna get right into it. As a rule of thumb, if you're moving locally, they'll have very expensive, fragile, or excessively bulky items, and have the time and manpower. A truck rental can save you money, and it's definitely a viable option. The lines start to get blurred whenever one of these conditions stops being true. Let's start with distance. 60% of US moves are within the same county, and an additional 20% are within the same state. That means that for nearly 80% of moves, renting a U-Haul can be considered a viable option. Of course, technically in California, you can be moving from tip to tip, and that's a 1,000-mile move, or you can live on a state border and it's just a few miles across the state line. The point is, driving a truck like this, full of all of your belongings, while doable, starts getting exponentially more difficult if you're moving further than a couple hundred miles away. Why? First, driving a heavy truck you're unfamiliar with in urban areas, inclement weather, and possibly even mountainous terrain can be stressful. If you're moving far enough away, there's a chance you'll need to stay overnight at a hotel, which means leaving all of your household belongings in a parking lot overnight. Now let's talk about the nature of your belongings. If you have expensive, fragile, or bulky items, you'll be responsible for uninstalling, packing, carrying, and loading everything into the truck, as well as doing everything in reverse. Professional movers handle things like pianos, hot tubs, and chandeliers regularly. You, on the other hand, probably less so. The higher the stakes of damaging your belongings, the less of a chance you want to take with a DIY move. Now, time and manpower. Think about the last time you bought a large sofa, a bed, or a refrigerator. Think about how much work and maneuvering that involved. Now imagine doing this for every single thing you own all in one day, and then doing the reverse at your new home. If you don't have the time or hands, it starts to make sense to consider hiring that out instead. And finally, let's talk about cost. A truck rental is overwhelmingly cheaper upfront than hiring professional movers. However, upfront costs aren't everything. Again, if you're moving a short distance, you pretty much can predict the cost, but the further the distance, the more you have to start considering the add-ups of costs such as fuel, lodging, food, and insurance. If you would like to hire additional moving labor, you should add that cost in, and there's one more expense that is often overlooked: demand. The same size truck for the exact same gate is $1,500 more moving from San Francisco to Austin than the opposite route. Why? A lot more people are renting trucks to Austin than to San Francisco. This means that U-Haul will have to figure out how to get trucks back to San Francisco, and that cost gets added to the customer. Anyway, adding all of these things up will still probably make truck rentals cheaper than hiring professional movers, but adding in the convenience, time, and expertise, it starts to become a more difficult decision to make. So essentially, on one end, if you're moving a one-bedroom apartment across town with relatively inexpensive furniture, and you have a couple of young and able-bodied friends that will help you for some beer and pizza, get a truck rental. If you're moving a 4-bedroom home with specialty items such as art and a pool table, it's just you and your spouse and your children, and you're moving 500 miles away, a truck rental will likely create more stress than it's worth. If you're somewhere in between these two options, it's your decision to make. But these aren't the only two options. Have you ever heard of a moving container company? We have a whole video that explains them in detail. But essentially, it's a hybrid option where the company drops off the container at your house, you load it, they pick it up, and take it to your destination, where you unload it, and then they come back and take it away forever. As a hybrid option, many times it's more affordable than a professional mover and more expensive than a rental truck. So it's a great option for people looking to save a little money, but driving the truck is out of question. To get a better understanding what each of these options cost, use our moving cost calculator. All you have to do is enter your origin, destination, move size, and date, and we'll let you know exactly what you should expect to pay, whether it's with a rental truck, professional mover, or moving container. With that information, you can see what fits your budget best, and now that you know a little bit more about moving options, you can make an informed decision.